You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, we're back, everybody. Good morning. I am Glenn the Geek from Ocala, Florida.
And I am Lisa Wysocki from Ashland City, Tennessee. And you're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network from Monday, April 28th, episode 3679 by WERM Flooring. Good morning, Horse World.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We have a fun show planned for you today. After we review the Kentucky 3-day event over the weekend, we have Spirit Day on Horses in the Morning, and it's the 30th anniversary of the movie Spirit, Stallion of Cimarron, believe it or not. And we hear from Neda, who is the founder of Return to Freedom, and that is where Spirit, the real Kiger Mustang, lives. And yes, Spirit's still alive.
I can't believe it.
I know. I thought for sure, but Mustangs usually don't live quite as long, but apparently Spirit has spirit. So
yeah, he does.
And then we're going to go back to an interview that we did a couple of years ago in Spirit fashion, and we're going to talk to Elaine Bogan, who was the director of Spirit Untamed. That was the movie after that. And she's going to tell us all about the making of the sequel, and it was absolutely fascinating interview, which is why I want to replay it for you. That was from 5 years ago, and she was just fascinating, talked a lot about how they did it. So we're going to do that. We have your question, First World Problems, and then a special treat in the Auditor Post Show. Max Cochran is going to join us. Most of you that listen know that Max joins us every year for a recap of the Kentucky 3-day event on her drive home. So she'll be here, and we'll do that in the Auditor Post Show. Well, Jamie is flying home today, so thank you, Lisa, for filling in. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
We've had a technological nightmare of a morning. Everything that has could break, broke. But we managed to get it done, so we're here. But she's flying home today. She couldn't get a flight out yesterday, so her and Anna, she called me yesterday, which she never does when we're not on the show. And she just had a fantastic time. She said to thank everybody that said hi to her. She said, I felt like a celebrity all weekend. They had a dinner. I don't know if you saw the picture, but there must have been 30 people
I was trying to get up to it. I couldn't get up there, but I was hoping to go. But yeah, it looked totally fun.
Yeah, it looked like they had a great time. A large turnout. So thank you to everybody that showed Jamie some love. Usually when Jamie goes places, people are saying, where's Glenn? She told me yesterday, she said, nobody asked that. I said, see, you're as famous as me now. So she loves to hear that.
And deservedly so. Yes.
So she had a fantastic time. I know Anna had a great time, and we'll hear all about that on Wednesday when she comes back. So Michael Young went into dressage. Of course, he's from Germany. He's won Kentucky 4 times and goes in and puts in an amazing dressage test. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that, but
I did. It was just, it's like dressage is supposed to be.
It's like dressage is supposed to be for both dressage and eventing.
Yes.
Because it was natural. It just looked so natural. And he doesn't have a big rig on the horse's face. And, it just looked effortless. And it wasn't pouring by that point. That happened later in the day for poor boy.
That helped, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it was amazing to watch. It really was. And I never say that about eventing dressage. So, but he had an 81.4, and then that put him in the lead with an 18.6, which is how they score eventing. Boyd came in with a 74, and he did his on Commando 3, and the pouring down rain. I mean, it was bucketing down rain.
I just don't see how they do that. I mean, and just the focus you have to keep going through all of that.
Not just water in your eyes. I mean, just...
No. I mean, you can't sit in the saddle and your reins are slipping and just,
I don't know, but he did it. And he rode 3 horses. How they do that, I don't know either, because it's just craziness riding that many horses. But he did it. It turned out that cross country didn't mix up the top too much, but below like the top 5, cross country made a world of difference. Mm-hmm. I got to watch that. We watched that all day, and only one person came in at a time, and he did with both of his horses, and that was Harry Mead in the 5-star. But even in the 4-star, nobody came in on time. It wasn't a tough course in that we had a lot of falls or things like that. Matter of fact, there wasn't one horse that fell. all day.
Which is great.
Yeah, a couple of riders came off, but they kind of just fell off. You know, it was, and their airbags bounced them in the air. So, yeah, so that, I mean, nobody got hurt. I mean, anytime we can come out of Kentucky or a large event like that and say nobody got hurt and the horses are all good,
that's a good day.
That's a good day. So then show jumping pretty much kept the top 5 in place because really Michael Young had several rails in hand and he was going to win it anyway. And he did his 5th time winning Kentucky, which is a record. This, you know, this is the rundown. Michael Young on Chipmunk was first. Boyd Martin came in second on Commando 3. Harry Mead took 3rd and 4th. Then Tom McEwen from Great Britain. So we had Great Britain, USA, Great Britain, Great Britain, Great Britain. And then Boyd Martin came in with the next 2, 6th and 7th. So Boyd had 3 out of the top 10. That's just amazing.
It really is.
That's just amazing. I'll have to ask Max later on if that's ever happened before. I don't know. And then Monica Spencer from New Zealand, James Allison from the USA. Then we had another couple more German riders, and it gone down the list. But yeah, so top 10, you know, Boyd with 3 in the top 10. Then you had Harry Mead with 2 in the top 10.
Yep.
It's crazy. But Harry Mead said
Boyd
this about Michael Young, and I wanted to read it. And I read this in Eventing Nation. Michael will be remembered as one of the greats. I followed the sport from the 50s, 60s, 70s before I was even born. And I think Michael is hands down, without a doubt, the greatest event rider there's ever been. And I don't think there will ever be anyone better. And I think we are living in a moment with an extraordinary thing. I think often when it's happening at the time, people don't appreciate it. But I think he will be remembered in 50 years' time as the best there ever was.
Well, that's some pretty strong words, and wow.
From the guy that came in 3rd and 4th, you know, so.
Exactly. Who's a legend in his own right, really.
Exactly. You know, so I don't know what else you can say about that, but, you know, it was amazing. I have a clip here. Boyd has gotten very well at doing his own reels. And this one he did at the airport after the end of the day when he was flying out. And he had his 2 kids with him, so you hear him talking to them. But keep in mind, Boyd had Commando, was in 2nd, and then, I'm trying to see the list here, in 6th was Fetterman, and then in 7th was Luke. Those were the horses he had. So he talks about that a little bit, but I'm going to try and play a reel, which is hard to do on the air here. So let's see if it works.
Just finished another epic Kentucky 3-day event. Had 3 fantastic horses this year. Bruno was Bruno, mate. What a legend. He got tired on the cross country, but dug deep. Came out and show jumped like a ripper today. A Luke 140, one of my favourites of all time. I had a year off last year with a banged up leg, and to come back and finish in the top 10 was awesome. Hey, say hello. Yeah. Anyway, and then the man, Connor. Connor was a legend. He has long legs. He's got long legs? Anyway, Commando 3 was a hero, mate. I didn't know what to expect this weekend. So it's his first sort of proper 5-star. The first time I had a crack at it, I fell off at jump 3. And this time, mate, he came out, rolled his sleeves up and was absolutely brilliant. So huge thanks to the team around us. Stephanie and all the guys that work for us are unbelievable. The amount of work and effort and energy they put in is freakishly amazing. The owners, the Annie Goodwin Syndicate, the Luke 140 Syndicate, and the Yankee Creek Ranch. Yeah, grab us some water. Fantastic owners, huge supporters. These are 3 of the great horses of my career.
There you go.
I love that.
I know.
I love that. It's just real, you know?
Yeah. And his kids were there running around the airport.
Yeah.
He's getting really good at doing those impromptu reels like that. But, you know, I thought that was good. So think about that. This is this horse, Commando 3's really first time good to do the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
The whole 5-star, and Kim's in 2nd. So there's a horse to watch in the future. Also, I want to give a shout out to Will Coleman on Off the Record for winning the 4-star. Will was amazing. Came in in a very close show jumping. Right behind him was Philip Dutton, who, by the way, is 61. We looked it up. Yeah, Jennifer and I looked it up because I said, Philip Dutton was riding and it seemed older when I met you 30 years ago. So we looked it up, and he's 2 years younger than me, but 61. Yeah, still
Well,
out
I know
there.
he's been around forever, but I had no idea.
Yes. And then I want to give a shout out to third place in the 4-star was Jessica Phoenix on Freedom. Jessica, of course, is an old friend of the show. We've been interviewing her since 2008. So congratulations, Jessica. Well done. All right.
Well, and Philip was second and fourth.
Yes. Yep. Well, that's Philip's way of doing it. Just, also dominating. Yeah, he's just... It's just amazing that he's still out there doing. I couldn't ride one horse around across country at 61 at my age.
It's a lot of conditioning.
Yeah, a lot.
Glenn.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. Oh, conditioning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I forgot. That's what I'm missing. All right, Jamie will talk more about her adventures over the weekend when she gets here on Wednesday. You can look forward to that. In the meantime, let's do some Daily Whinnies. Well, a very happy birthday to one of our auditors, Alex Paget. Happy birthday to you.
So I have two Daily Whinnies. The first one, I'm abdicating to Auditor Lisa. And if you've been on the Auditor page, you might have seen some of this, but she says, oops, I did a thing. Well, my non-horsey hubby was so helpful when I purchased my new-to-me horse truck. It seemed only right to get him a 3-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred to say thanks. The truck and new pony, Bosco, come home today. I love that. I mean, what else is she going to do? She has to have a horse to go with the horse truck.
Sarcasm in that one.
Yeah, and then my second auditor...
or she's trying to kill him, one or the other.
Well, we won't say anything about that, Glenn, just in case. So, but we want to see follow-ups. We have to see follow-ups about that.
By the way, the truck, she bought one of those vans, the horse vans. Oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice looking.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. Glenn, I have just a real quick, just kind of a sad Daily Whinnie. I just wanted to give a shout out to Roy Johnson, who passed away last week. Roy was my college advisor at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
An incomparable horse person. When he left the U of M, he went over to Nutrina and he developed Safe Choice, the feed, on his kitchen table. He has been my nutrition consultant all of these years, and he has been so influential around the world in advancing horse feed. And he died, I think he was 75 last week. And I just wanted to say a shout out to his family, because he was a big influence in my life.
Very sorry to hear that. There were a lot.
Yeah.
There were a lot in the last week of deaths in the horse world of prominent people.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
there
sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on to happier things. Your book. I know you just filled in for me a week or two ago, but any updates on movies and things?
Well, yeah. So, the more I'm learning about this, Glenn, I mean, it's so many moving parts, and we've been up to Lexington to do the scouting, and we're waiting. We're kind of in a holding pattern. We're waiting on the final script, and I say the final, it's the one that they're going to be shooting from, and then there's changes on that. So we're just waiting from that, which we were hoping to get maybe the end of last week, but hopefully today or in the next day or so, and then that has to be approved by all of the producers and the distributor. And so, we're kind of waiting on that. And then there's more, scene selection and casting, and they've got people in mind for the various parts, but they haven't actually committed. I think now, which I'm really glad about, we're not going to be shooting in August in Kentucky. I think we're going to be shooting like later in September, which to me, weather-wise, is going to be so much better.
It'll be still pretty hot in August.
Yes. So it, every day, we've got a production meeting every Monday, and, every day I'm doing something. So it's progressing, and I just can't wait to share more news, throughout the summer, with casting choices and things like that. So
We're
excited.
All right. Very good. WormFlooring.com now does your trailer roof. Leaky roofs are a very common problem with horse trailers and RVs. Worm Flooring revolutionary silicone-based coating creates a barrier against the heat and wet. First, it seals your roof to stop leaks before they start. Second, it reflects back 90% of the UV rays, keeping your trailer much, much cooler, up to 60 degrees on a blistering day. So ditch the duct tape and buckets. Invest in long-term, lasting peace of mind with Seal and Chill. It's applied by pros for a flawless finish, and it's only $7.50 per square foot. We all know how hot trailers get in the summertime, especially here in the South. So it's a steal for a cooler, drier, happier trailer or RV, which means happier horses and happier people. Head on over to Worm Flooring, that's WERM Flooring.com, to find a dealer near you. All right, coming up next, we're going to start our Day of Spirit with an interview with Alexandra and Neda. They are from Return to Freedom Sanctuary in Lompoc, California. And they are the ones that's been keeping Spirit, who, of course, was the one who inspired Spirit Stallion of Cimarron, the DreamWorks film. And that's 30 years ago now. And, of course, he's a Kiger Mustang and still around.
Well, Alexandra and Neda, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to celebrate Spirit's 30th birthday with all of you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so tell us, this is something I've been wanting to know for decades. How did Spirit get chosen as the horse in the movie?
Well, well, that's a good question for Lorna Cook. And Lorna will be here on his birthday celebration, which is, we're going to have it on May 10th here at the ranch. And so I will do my best to explain that from what I remember. She said that she knew she wanted a dun stallion when she read the script from John Fusco. And she heard about these Kiger Mustangs up in Oregon that were exactly the color she was thinking of. So they went up with Jeffrey Katzenberg and the whole crew went up there, Brian Adams, everybody. They went up to meet with the breeder. So Spirit's mother and father were wild on the range. And there was a man who was very involved with the Kiger Mustangs up there. And he was breeding them. And they started, of course, there was a Kiger Mustang registry that started and all those kinds of things because the horses were quickly very popular. So when they arrived, they wanted to purchase the father. Excuse me. And of course, the gentleman said, no, he's not for sale. And they saw this young, beautiful stallion. I think Spirit must have been 3 years old by then, 3, maybe 5, somewhere between 3 and 5, somewhere there. And they purchased him for quite a lot of money. And he was just perfect, obviously, because they had a gentleman named Herman Baca train him, and he was trained with high school movements, haute école, and he did all the things that you see him doing as the animated horse. He was taught to do the march, which is the Spanish walk. He was taught to do the levade, and he was taught to rear and various things so that they could draw this horse. And he was amazing for years. Yeah.
That's amazing. So he's obviously very, very smart, but tell us a little bit about his personality. I mean, what is he like if you get to meet him up close and in person?
Well, he's very affectionate and he's very grumpy. Both.
Well, he's an old man now. He's allowed to be grumpy.
He's very grumpy. He when sometimes he comes up with his ears back and his head low, swinging, and he's just kind of grumpy, but he loves attention. So it's kind of like, I don't know, misleading.
Like Eeyore? He's kind of Eeyore-ish now in his old age.
He can be. And ironically, his best friend is our donkey that roams loose, Jasper. Jasper, we call the sheriff. Jasper roams around and he hangs out with Spirit.
Oh, when did you get Spirit after they were done with him? Did he go directly to you?
No, he went directly to a veterinarian where he was maintained in a beautiful, beautiful spot until, things were all ironed out. And then we were filming with, hang on just a second, Animal Planet. Got it. went blank for a second. Animal Planet came and they were did a really nice show. They interviewed various organizations that were working with Mustangs, and they filmed us too. And lo and behold, the second day of filming, Spirit arrived in a horse trailer.
How convenient is that?
What he looked like or anything. I knew that we might receive him. I knew that we might be receiving him. I knew they were looking for his home, a permanent home. After, the filming, they realized, wait, we're not a horse sanctuary. We have a horse now. And then there was a lot of people, as usual, fighting over him. People thought, oh, there's this horse coming out and we want to breed him. And people saw a golden goose. And so DreamWorks didn't want that. They wanted him to be in a really beautiful place where he'd be well looked after, but also, be able to touch people and move people's hearts.
Yeah.
And so they narrowed it down to about 12 locations, I think, from my memory, across the country. And they came here a few times. And one day Jennifer Gonring was here and she was just kind of looking off. And she said, this is the place. This is it.
Wow.
And yeah, we were so happy. But, at the time, I had no idea what he looked like. I thought he might be some sort of little, done Kiger. I had no idea he was so magnificent. So when I unloaded him from the trailer, my reaction on that show was authentic. It was like, oh my God.
So the Return to Freedom Sanctuary was chosen, and obviously it's a super special place. So tell us how some of the history behind it and a little bit about the sanctuary.
Okay. Excuse me. Well, I started, when I was a little girl, I really wanted to save wild horses. I saw them being chased on probably Western. I have no idea if it was the news. It was probably 1965. I was 5 years old. Of course, I started horseback riding when I was 4 or 5. When I was 8, I got my first horse. Fast forward to, the 90s, and canned hunts were being exposed all over television as well as...
I remember that.
Yeah. And Martha Mendoza and Scott Sonner from the AP were really exposing what was happening with the Mustangs and the Bureau of Land Management. And I was so angry. I was so mad. I go, you know what? I just have to do something. Now's the time. And my life was shifting. So I started to look into, the wild horse issue. And I went up to the Wild Horse Sanctuary up in Shingletown and learned a lot, from going up there and meeting Jim Clapp and Diana Nelson and their work up there. And I was really trying to think of, where do I add value? What can I do? It's a big effort. So you're trying to figure out, what are people doing? What are they not doing? And what's the problem? Excuse me. So in any case, I kept trying to find ways to acquire land and start something. At one point, we talked about me moving up there and maybe helping there, but I didn't want to live up there. And in any case, eventually, I stumbled into this ranch. And
so you've gone from there to being a nonprofit organization, and you're working in wild horse and burro rescue and legislation and advocacy. So you've gone beyond just the regular care of the wild horses and burros, but you're really advocating for them. So that's pretty amazing.
Right. Thank you for researching us. That's right. The scope of our work, expanded because I knew it couldn't just be one thing or the other, because you need people to be educated, right? So we knew it had to have a really strong educational component. I didn't want to be political, but if you want to make change at some point, you've got to get involved with the policies and try to improve them at least, or change them. And it's a very political issue. You're dealing with natural resources and public land, federal lands, sometimes state lands, but mostly federal lands. And so being a horsewoman, my passion is for obviously heritage strains, rare strains, original Spanish barbs, things of that ilk. But my political nature is to fight with the warriors, the wild horses of today, which are very diverse. A lot of them are horses that were, derivative of bloodlines that arrived from Europe later than the Spanish horses, and, were used for plowing big ranchos and working on the large ranches, or horses that were bred for cavalry and things of that nature that were let loose or stolen or got loose, especially as large ranchos in the West were donated or given or sold to the refuge system.
Yeah.
So all of those things you learn on the journey. And so that was really interesting to me. And I just kept learning, and everything came through the horses, and where they were. And you're just starting to deepen your understanding of all these things.
Yeah. And, I know a lot of those things are probably things you never wanted to learn, but you have to be effective, And I just want to move on a little bit to the event on May 10th, because this is everybody's opportunity to see your amazing place. And I guess people get to meet Spirit, right?
Yeah, so it's his 30th birthday. Can you believe it?
You know what? I couldn't believe he was still around. I was like,
I know,
he's still alive.
30.
I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to hear this, actually.
I know. It's interesting. A lot of people, they didn't know. And I think there's a whole new generation, of course, because of the Netflix spinoffs that have been, happening. So we've got a whole new generation of children and their families, bringing them over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and then the generation that grew up with the movie Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, the OGs, they're now adults, young adults, and they're coming, and some of them come with tattoos of Spirit on them. It's amazing. I mean, this horse has touched so many hearts, and I look at him sometimes. I go, "Oh my God, dude, you are carrying the dreams of millions of people all over the world."
Now, Alexandra, did you
Yeah.
tell us that the ticket, you're sold out? Like, this is a sold out
We're
event?
sold out. We're beyond sold out. So Alexandra is wanting me to, or us to do, another celebration for his 30th year towards, the fall, so that a lot of the people that didn't get to come this time around will come hopefully later. So
you have to do that.
They should
you have to
email us at alexandra@returntofreedom.org and let her know.
Well,
she'll make it happen if there's enough of a buzz and enough interest.
I hope you're filming part of it.
That's a good idea. We're usually all running around.
You really should be filming. You could do live. You could do this live,
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, you could bring in thousands of people that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right,
I'd be one of them.
I just gave them more work to do. They're going to hate me now.
Yeah.
Just send the person who's going to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
So where do we find out more information about the sanctuary and about Spirit?
Thank you. On returntofreedom.org. And you can follow us on all the platforms at Return to Freedom. And then Spirit also has an Instagram page at Spirit Kiger.
Well,
and he also has a Facebook page, Spirit and Friends.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. I know you're really busy there, and we're going to let you get back to, what is it, 450 animals you have on property, or if you just lost count and don't care?
We have about 180 on this property, but altogether we are responsible for about 480.
Oh my
horses.
God. I thought 3 was bad.
Know.
Well, go do it. Go feed the ponies, and we really appreciate you being on today.
Thank you both so much. Returntofreedom.org, and we hope to see you here one day. Maybe you can come and do the event.
The foundation of a horse's well-being is a strong hoof, and that's why Calexiquin, the new daily hoof supplement from makers of Cosequin, contains key ingredients such as biotin, amino acids, copper, and zinc to support hoof integrity, quality growth, strength, and durability. What sets Calexiquin apart from other hoof supplements is the inclusion of vitamin E and selenium, which provide antioxidant support and membrane stabilization. Put your best hoof forward with Calexiquin. To learn more, visit calexiquin.com.
And, years ago in 2021, I was with Sarah Conrad. We were doing a Horse Illustrated episode once a month at that point. And a new movie had just come out that was kind of a follow-up to Spirit, and it was called Spirit Untamed. And we interviewed the director, Elaine Bogan, and she was fantastic. So I thought And, keeping the spirit theme going today, we'd replay that because I know a lot of you have never heard it. But she was just a fun person to interview. And Sarah was my co-host in this one. So I wanted to replay this one for you. I think you'll really enjoy it. Now, at the beginning of the conversation, there's a minute or two about how they got through COVID and the making of the movie. And I know none of us like to hear about COVID anymore, so you'll get through it. It's actually kind of important in the telling of the making of this movie. So bear with us on that. And here's Elaine, director of Spirit Untamed. Sarah was able to book the director of the new movie that's out in theaters right now, Spirit Untamed. And I know a lot of you have gone out and seen it already with your kids, and the reviews are great. And Elaine Bogan is joining us. Now, she's worked for DreamWorks for a long time. She's made her way up through the ranks, and this is her first major movie debut. And we're going to talk to her about that, what it was like to do it in COVID time. And let's just get right to Elaine and find out all about her life and this movie. Well, hi, Elaine. Thanks for joining us here on Horses in the Morning. We appreciate it.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you guys.
Well, we're going to talk about your movie in just a minute, but our listeners get really mad at me. We've been doing this 10 years, and they would get mad at me for 10 years because I always mess this up. They always want to know about your horse first before we talk about any project that you're doing. So tell me about your horse.
Okie doke. My horse is a majestic noble steed named Ziggy Stardust, and he is about
No, you're making that up, right? No.
Well, I'm a big Bowie fan.
I guess you are.
Figured that out by now. He's about 16'2", and he's a dark bay Dutch warm blood.
Well, then you do dressage or jumping?
I do a little bit of both and a lot of trail riding. I like to keep him busy and out of trouble, so I try and do a lot of different things with him every week.
And you live in California, right?
I do.
Yeah, so
we're right here in Burbank.
Oh, so are you at the LA Equestrian Center?
Yes, that's where Ziggy lives.
It's the only equestrian center I know of.
Yeah, it'd be like the place to be.
Yeah, it works out pretty perfect for us. It's right smack in the middle of home and work, about 5 minutes each way. So I'm pretty lucky.
Well, Ziggy, I asked that also for another reason, because Ziggy's going to kind of come back into the conversation in a little bit here. But as we said in the opener, you're the director of Spirit Untamed, and a bunch of our listeners have gone out and seen it with their kids and loved it.
Amazing. Yeah, we're so pleased and so happy that we're getting such a great response from the audience and general audience reviews that, we made this thing just to excite and inspire little kids to get back out there and start having their own adventures now that, hopefully we're in a place where the world's getting a little bit more back to normal and we can all do that.
Were you always on the animation side?
The silver lining, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any interest in doing the other side? The dark side?
I guess for me, it's like, if the right story and the right set of characters comes around, for me the medium is up for grabs. I'd love to try different mediums and different styles, and even within animation it's always nice to switch it up once in a while with the types of stories you're telling and things like that. But yeah, whatever I can sort of really deeply and personally connect to would be ideal.
Well, you led me into my next question perfectly. And that is, how excited were you, or did you really push to direct this one knowing it's about horses? Or was this something that just happened and it happened to be about horses?
Yeah, I have to say, I was a big fan of the first film, of course. And then I wasn't aware that DreamWorks was in the process of developing a new feature film with Spirit. And it's funny, the timing of it. I had just come back to the feature side of things from TV, looking for my next project to work on. And when I got the very first phone call to see if I wanted to become a part of the Spirit universe as a director for the next movie, I was actually sitting in my car at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center on my way home after just having taken care of my horse for the day. And just the timing of all of that felt so, it was too weird to not seriously consider. And then once I heard more about the cast of characters that they wanted to base the story on, which were the characters from the TV series Spirit Riding Free, just being able to tell a story about this young female heroine who is up for any challenge and is able to accomplish anything she wants because of of her passion and the support of her really good friends around her, that story just spoke a lot to me on a very personal level. And it just, the timing of everything felt perfect.
Now, it seems like the animation of the horses was very realistic and just spot on as far as realism for horse people and making it seem like horses moving correctly and whatnot. I have a feeling you had a lot to do with that, correct?
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. It was one of my biggest goals coming into this project, was because of the, just the sheer artistry and beauty and attention to detail that was encapsulated in the first movie. We really wanted to emulate that. And for me, obviously, as a horse person, it was important that these animals and these characters on screen were represented in a way that I felt told the story about my daily experiences with my horses. And, I feel like the more real and authentic and believable we could get about that, the more the audience would connect to that material and feel like, that could be them up there because they've been through these things every day. Like for example, the scene where Lucky gets her face snorted in by Spirit and her hair blows back and she just falls over laughing. I swear that happens to me every day. Mimi is quite the character.
Happens to all of us.
And, for one person having your face covered in horse spit, it's hilarious. For another, maybe not so much, but it's all of these small moments that we all experience every single day. It was my mission to infuse a lot of that all the way throughout Lucky and Spirit's relationship in order to tickle the audience with a sense of authenticity.
Oh, were the staff all rolling their eyeballs when you'd show up and go, "Oh, this horse part isn't right"? Were they all rolling?
Oh my gosh, I was definitely the horse nerd in the room. Guys, a horse would never do that. Also, horses don't have eyebrows. Blah blah blah. But I was really fortunate to have my partner, my co-director Ennio Torreson, in the room. He's not necessarily a horse person, so it was a nice balance of, okay, what can get really realistic about, and also the nice reminder in the room that Elaine, we're making a cartoon, so we need to utilize some other elements that will help reach out to the audience who doesn't necessarily know horses, and we really needed Spirit to have a lot of character and personality and be able to express emotions because he doesn't speak in this movie. He doesn't have voiceover dialogue like he did in the first movie, so we were relying on a lot of more sort of anthropomorphic traits and a little bit of human quality in his facial expressions and things like that to balance out the horse body language that we all know very well.
Now you talk about connecting with the audience, and for the audience out there, that I know the three main characters are girls, but I have an almost 10-year-old boy. And he watched the movie with me. And as soon as it was done, he said, "That's a really good movie." So it even connected with a little boy who's not that into horses. He gets a lot of exposure through me. Yeah. But he is not your, horse crazy girl that a lot of people might think is the target audience. So anybody who also has a little boy, you can also take your little boys out to see the movie too.
That's fantastic to hear.
And I love a lot of the messages you had in the movie for the kids about like not giving up and being determined, and also to always be yourself. Mm-hmm. What were some of the other messages that you hope for viewers to take from the movie?
Yeah, it's definitely, the main themes were definitely, always be brave enough to have your own authentic voice, be comfortable, love who you are, and always fight for what you truly believe in, no matter how hard that's going to be. That's sort of the headliner. And I think it's such an important one for a young audience, especially today. And the other thing that we were really proud of being part of a story like this for was the idea that Lucky comes into this new town. She's a fish out of water. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know anybody in the town. But she's immediately faced with these two female friends who welcome her right in. They were very inclusive immediately of Lucky in this new place. They didn't judge her. They didn't give her a hard time. They helped her, and they all lifted each other up to get to where they needed to go. And I think that message was my favorite part. It was just, we all have to lift each other up if we're going to make any sort of sense out of this life. So that was a big one for me.
Well, and as a parent, you definitely want to teach that message to your kids. So movies like this kind of help us parents along with that.
Amazing.
So I mentioned earlier about Ziggy, whose name I will never forget. So, and we've had 6,000 guests in this show, and that's the first one. So, so did Ziggy kind of make an appearance in the movie? Did you kind of have your own horse in there?
Well, yes, you might catch a glimpse of old Ziggy Stardust in Spirit's Herd. And he, I took a little bit of creative liberty with his character. In real life, Ziggy's very much
You made him clean?
Labrador retriever. He would crawl into your lap if he could. But in the movie, we were looking for a horse that would sort of become, he plays the role of Spirit's second in command. And Ziggy's character in the movie is very much the standoffish, I don't trust humans yet. And that was his sort of arc throughout the movie, was coming to trust Lucky by the end. And that was a representation of the rest of the horses in Spirit's herd. Whereas on the other side of things, Spirit has had this relationship forming with Lucky. So he kind of represented, the heart and the horse-human relationship beginning to form at the beginning of the movie. But we still wanted to reflect a bit of realism in there and help people understand, these horses are wild animals and they deserve respect and they deserve their space. And yeah, I think it was tricky finding that balance between allowing Spirit to stay a wild horse and also telling a story about him forming a bond with a human. Although she's not trying to tame him, she wants to keep him in the wild. There was a lot of really challenging issues we were dealing with in the story itself.
Well, it's interesting, too, because we do an episode once a month here on the show with the Mustang Heritage Foundation. So the fact that, it's a Mustang, made me happy, too, because we're big supporters of finding them homes. And our hosts, several of them have taken in Mustangs and trained them. And we've had, Mary Kitzmiller has won, Mustang competitions. So I was so happy to see that. But now I got to ask you a question. Beside this one, because it's going to be your favorite, but what was your favorite horse movie leading up to this one?
Oh my gosh, all of them. I remember when I was a kid, I wore out 2 VHS tapes, if the kids out there know what those are anymore. I wore out 2 VHS tapes watching, rewinding, and rewatching Black Beauty.
Of course you did.
For
you and every other female in the audience.
I think my mom could probably recite all of the dialogue in that movie because of me. I would say that's definitely my favorite. And then even as I grew up and started going to art school, I loved movies like Brave that had horse characters in them that, because I had started riding when I was 8 or 9 years old, I knew what their characters were like, and I knew how different they all could be and how much personality one could have when standing next to the other, but I always really appreciated movies like Brave that told a story with a horse in it that still felt like a horse. It didn't feel like an overly animated cartoon like character that took on other traits from different animals, in order to tell a story. And any movie like that felt like a fun, exciting take on a horse character, I was really into.
Is that why she kind of had a little bit of red hair? A little throwback to Merida there?
There's a little tinge in there, I guess. But yeah, our designers really wanted to just stay true to and evoke the designs that were in the TV series. So I guess that would be a little bit of Jim genetics in there.
The main characters all have such diversity, and that young girls and young kids today can see themselves in like each of the characters.
Yeah, that was definitely a big mission of ours way up front, was to make sure that we honored the cast of characters that the TV series provided us with, but we were all so excited to be part of a story that, represented the reality that we live in. We all come from different perspectives, different cultures, and different backgrounds. And we were excited at the idea that these 3 girls do come from very different backgrounds, but they don't come into the story competing about it. They all come together and solve a problem together. And, because we were reflecting these characters from different point of views and cultures, we also thought made sure that we stayed focused on representing that on our own crew. And the people behind the scenes making the story came from different perspectives and different backgrounds, because that was the only way. What kind of storytellers would we be if we didn't try and reflect that on our own crew? And because of that, it seemed like every single person that had their hands in making this movie had some very personal stuff to lend to the story and to the art and the design and the visual style. Everything was touched by so many different people. And we feel pretty successful that the story hopefully is a reflection of that,
Thank you so much for joining us. It's out in movie theaters right now. You can go see it, and I understand it's going to be coming out June 25th, video on demand on various platforms. You all know how you can find it on your TV. But if not, go to dreamworks.com/movies/spirit-untamed, or just Google it. You'll find it. But good luck on your next feature film.
Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much.
I'm thinking positive for you, by the way.
Today.
I'm trying to think positive here. Thanks, Elaine. We appreciate it.
Want to reach a passionate, engaged audience of horse lovers? The Horse Radio Network, with thousands of listeners worldwide, offers unique sponsorship opportunities to connect your brand with horse owners, riders, and enthusiasts. Over 90% of our listeners have bought a product from a HRN ad in the past year. Partner with HRN and take your brand to the next level. Visit www.horseradionetwork.com/advertise today.
It's time for the weekly look at your equestrian first world problems. This ought to be good.
That's right. It is time for Equestrian First World Problems. This is where we ask our auditors what kind of problems they've had, and what. And we're talking first world, not real problems. But we ask them on Sunday night, and they always respond. And for some reason, Lisa, people always got problems all the time.
I know. And serious problems.
There's a never-ending list. So why don't we do some of them?
We will do them, and I apologize because I'm not Jamie. I just have to say that.
None of us are.
So well.
None of us are.
I know. So this one is from Lisa, but we have to read it. She says, I just purchased an amazing, new to me, 3-horse truck. Yay! But I accidentally also adopted a baby OTTB on the same day. So now I have 4 riding horses, but only a 3-horse truck. Honestly, the truck was to upgrade from my 2-horse float to actually solve the 3 riding horse transfer issue. I'm not really sure what my malfunction is.
Okay, so earlier she said she bought the thoroughbred for her husband. There was no mention of that here, you noticed.
No.
I bet you the husband doesn't even know what the name of the horse is.
No, and you know what? I've got a solution to her problem. She just needs to bite the bullet and buy a 6-horse.
Well, no, with those trucks, usually you can haul a 2-horse trailer behind it. So now you got 5.
You can.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's it.
Problem solved.
That's it.
You had a 2-horse trailer, just hook it to the back. You're good.
There you go. Maybe she sold the 2-horse.
Maybe, yeah.
She needs to
buy that
us.
truck.
Yeah.
I think she's in New Zealand or Australia. I can't remember right now, but one of those two.
Yeah, someplace there. Yeah. But yeah, she's got the solution. There you go.
All right.
There you go. Okay. So Jenna says, I'm just starting my 3-year-old Warlander, but she's too wide for my super comfy dressage saddle. Oh, darn. So I have to use my Western saddles for now, but it's so heavy and she's so tall.
Jennifer has this new Western saddle. Jenna, I got to tell you, my wife is feeling you too. She has this new Western saddle, which she loves riding in, by the way. It's squishy and comfy, and she's even got used to the horn. But every time she puts it on, she whines. So Jenna, you and Jennifer can relate right now.
And I will say that Jenna included a picture of her horse with the saddle, and he looks fabulous in it. So it's worth it. It's worth it, Jenna.
Yeah. Oh,
Go
yeah, that's right. Kind of a gray.
Yeah.
Black, actually. I'm looking closer now.
Black.
Yeah, black.
Yeah, he's black.
Yeah.
Okay. So Aaron says, and this one I can so totally relate to. It says, It's bright and sunny all week when I'm stuck in front of my computer at work. It's cold and rainy and snowy on the weekends when I have time to ride my horse. Can we not reverse this?
It is the horse person's curse right there.
It is. It is. Yes. Yes.
She posted a picture of her cute horse too.
Yes, he's very cute. Yes. Yeah. And so Jillian says, I have to go home today from Kentucky, and I really feel like my life should be drinking bourbon and watching the best horses in the world.
Everybody going home from Kentucky is feeling the same way.
Everybody's feeling the same way. I mean, what's not cool about that, you know? Just hang out there.
Oh, I want to do Carrie's.
Okay.
I forgot my headphones when I took my dog for a walk, so I couldn't finish catching up on HITM. I'm behind since I was away on vacation. All right, that is unforgivable right there. I mean,
it really is.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen. I'm sorry, Carrie.
It really is. Yeah.
We can't forgive you for that. And later on in the show, you'll hear something that I can't be forgiven for either, ever.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
But, life happens, Glenn. Life happens. So this one is from Jen. And we've all been here.
Oh, for my wife.
Yes. She says, it took half the day to go to all 4 Ocala tack shops trying to find exactly the splint boots I wanted. Now, haven't we all been there, Glenn, and you just have to have the right thing. And nobody has it.
This is why when she says I'm going to a tack shop, I know that means more than one, and I don't go. That's why. Because I don't know about you, but when I do errands, I have a 3-stop limit. And then that's it. That's all I can do. On 3 stops, I want to go home after 3 stops.
Oh, wow.
And Jennifer can do 18 in one day. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. I had 11 yesterday.
See, I couldn't do that.
I had 11.
I'd shoot myself.
But see, here's the thing with Jen's issue. It's always the last tack store you go to that has the right thing.
And the first world problem, obviously, is how many people have as many tack shops as we do. We probably have a record number of tack shops in Ocala, that more than any other place in the world, including any place in Texas.
Yeah.
And now I just found out they're opening a Dover store at WEC. That's going to be one of the new things they're opening there.
So, that'll be fun.
There you go.
That will be fun. I love Kathleen's problem. I think we've all had this problem too. So she said, my donkey is broken. If you rub his ear, his lower lip disconnects.
Scooters is kind of that way too.
I love that. So Kathy says, I had the most amazing first time at KY Defender.
Oh, good.
My kid found a great saddle. My friend adopted the sweetest dog. I got to meet Natalie of Adulting with Horses. I had dinner with my new bestie, Jamie Jennings, and I bought such great stuff. But this morning, I'm too tired to put it all away. And I have to clean the mud off of my new Dewberry boots. That's really tragic.
I wonder how many Dewberry boots were wandering around on Friday. There must have been a ton of, probably a record number of Dewberry boots wandering around.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember when they came out and they first made an appearance at Kentucky. And they've advertised the same way ever since. And that was they had the guy stand in the bucket of water in his Dewberry boots all day. Poor guy standing there all day in a bucket of water. I always felt bad for him. When I was working for John at Bit of Britain, we'd sit up there and there'd be the Dewberry guy standing there. But the first show they came to, they must have sold 500 or 600 pairs. It was the bestseller of that particular year for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And they last forever.
Yeah, they loved those boots. They were the first of their kind because everything else had been the rubber. Been, what are they called? The old-fashioned British ones. What are they called?
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking of. The old-fashioned name. Can't remember it now. But they had been the ones that everybody wore was the rubber ones. And then these came out and you could actually be comfortable.
Imagine that. Imagine that. So Margaret has a very serious problem. She said, I'm headed to our tack shop to pick up some supplies. I also want to get all the things that I'm going to need for my new horse. I keep going back and forth as to what color would look best on a black horse. My chestnut boy rocks teal and it's perfect. The problem with black is you could go with any color and it would look great. And there are just so many choices.
It is true. She's right about that. Black is good for almost anything except black.
Except black. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. We have time for one more.
One more. Okay, this one is from Christina. She said, I'm so excited to ride with new friends. I forgot to be embarrassed that my horse chews on his reins, and they are weeks away from disintegrating by the bit. My horse was so excited he forgot how to calmly walk and just wanted to trot the whole time to catch up.
We've all had those trail riding experiences, haven't we?
We have. Yes. So it sounds like she got through it safely, though.
Yeah. I got to do one more. This is from Anonymous, and I have to do this one.
Yes.
So she said, I just took my dog to get neutered. I told him he was going on a no-ball expedition. I think he thought I said noble because he would seem pretty excited about it all. Yes, he misunderstood you.
Oh, poor thing.
He's now having a bad day at this point.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Well.
Thank you, Lisa, for filling in. Where can people find you and all of your
You're
stuff?
welcome, LisaWysocki.com.
LisaWysocki.com. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow. Excuse me. Tomorrow we're dark because it's the 5th Tuesday, so there won't be a show. But Jamie will be back here on Wednesday and then Friday also. So Jamie will be back here Wednesday and Friday, and we'll have a little bit of fun talking about the Derby, because right away, once we get done with Kentucky, we have to talk about the Derby, which is this weekend.
Oh, jumping right in.
Yeah, we have to go right to it. So, and then hold on, auditors, because we have a very special post show for you where we have Max Cochran joining us from the road to give us her impressions of, everything.
Everything.